It started innocently enough. A road trip with my closest friends, Lucas and Mia, weaving through the back roads of Massachusetts. The Victorian mansion loomed out of the mist, its once majestic facade now shrouded in decay. It was Lucas who spotted it first, his enthusiasm always sharper than his caution. "Guys, we have to check it out," he said, already making his way toward the warp gate. Mia and I exchanged hesitant glances, but we followed. Inside, the air was damp and heavy. Dust motes floated in the faint light, filtering through cracked windows. The house seemed to breathe, creaking under its weight, as if alive. We wandered through rooms that whispered of forgotten lives, faded wallpaper, broken furniture, scattered mementos. Then Lucas found the attic door. "It's probably locked," Mia said, hugging herself against the chill. Lucas grinned, jiggling the rusted handle until it gave way with a groan. Not anymore. The attic was suffocatingly cramped, filled with the detritus of decades. Old trunks, broken chairs, and a sense of something watching. But it was the mirror that drew us in. Tall and ornate, its silver frame gleamed despite the tarnished surroundings. It leaned against the far wall as though waiting for us. "Creepy," Mia muttered. But Lucas stepped forward, his curiosity outweighing any unease. I followed reluctantly, my heart thudding in my chest. Something about the mirror, the way it seemed too pristine, too out of place, set me on edge. "It's just a mirror," Lucas said, touching its surface. His reflection mimicked the gesture, but when he pulled his hand away, the glass rippled, like water disturbed by a pebble. "Did you see that?" I asked, my voice shaky. Lucas nodded, frowning. "Weird." Mia hung back near the stairs. "Guys, maybe we should go." Her voice carried an edge of fear I rarely heard. "Just a second," Lucas replied, his eyes fixed on the mirror. He stepped closer, and I couldn't stop myself from doing the same. My reflection stared back at me, but something was off. It smiled, a slow, deliberate smile I wasn't making. "Emma," Mia whispered. "Your reflection..." Her voice faltered, but I saw it too. My mirror self tilted its head, watching me like prey. I stumbled back, bumping into Lucas, who was pale as a sheet. "What the hell?" he murmured. He was staring at his own reflection, his lips trembling. "What do you see?" I asked, my voice barely audible. "I'm drowning," he said, his words clipped and breathless. "Water everywhere. I can't breathe." His hands clutched at his throat as though choking on invisible waves. Mia whimpered, and I turned to see her frozen in place. Tears streamed down her face as she stared into the glass. "What is it?" I asked, stepping toward her. "Blood," she choked out. "I'm covered in blood. So much blood." My own reflection moved again, pressing its hands against the glass. I was in a coffin, the darkness pressing in, the air thick and stale. The suffocating weight made me gasp for breath. It wasn't real, I told myself. It couldn't be. But the reflection, it felt alive, sentient. "This is wrong," I said, shaking Lucas by the shoulder. "We need to leave now." Lucas snapped out of his trance and grabbed Mia. "Come on, let's go." But something kept pulling me back. The mirror, its surface rippled again, and I reached out without thinking. My fingertips grazed the glass, and a jolt shot through me like lightning. The next thing I knew, I was being dragged in. "Emma," Mia screamed. Their hands grabbed at me, but it was no use. The mirror's pull was relentless, and I was swallowed whole. The last thing I saw was their horrified faces as I disappeared into the void. I don't know how long I've been here. Time doesn't exist in this place. I'm surrounded by endless reflections, warped, fractured versions of myself. They whispered to me, their voices overlapping in a maddening cacophony. Lucas and Mia tried to save me. I saw them through the glass, their frantic faces as they smashed the mirror. But even as the shards fell to the floor, my reflection remained, screaming silently. I'm still here, trapped in the pieces. Months passed, and the mansion burned to the ground. The fire consumed everything, except the mirror fragments. They were found untouched, scattered in the ashes, still showing my face. Lucas and Mia visited once, their guilt etched into their features. I tried to call out to them, but they couldn't hear me. They've moved on now, or at least they've tried to. But every time they look into a mirror, they see me. My face, my plea for help. They can't escape it. Neither can I. We had always been a trio, bound together by our insatiable curiosity and love for the thrill of the unknown. It was Halloween night when we, Jody, Claire, and Matt, set out to explore the legendary Mirror House, an abandoned mansion tucked deep in the woods. Our adrenaline-fueled escapades had become a trademark of our friendship, but none of us knew that this adventure would leave an indelible mark on our lives. The mansion loomed before us like a specter, its crumbling facade partially hidden by the dense woods. The rumors surrounding it were as chilling as the cold October air. Every wall inside, they said, was covered in mirrors. Local legends claimed that arrogance and disrespect within its walls came with a dire price. Of course, we were too confident to take such stories seriously. Armed with flashlights and a cheap video camera, we stepped inside. The first thing that struck me was the unnatural chill, as though the air itself rejected our presence. Dust blanketed every surface, and the musty smell of decay filled our noses. My flashlight beam danced over cracked tiles and peeling wallpaper until it landed on the first of many mirrors. It was an ornate, full-length piece framed in tarnished silver, its surface marred with streaks and fingerprints that shouldn't have been there. "So, this is the infamous Mirror House," Matt said, his voice laced with mockery. "I've seen creepier thrift stores." Claire, ever the skeptic, chuckled. "Exactly. It's just an old house. People scare themselves with stories. Let's get some footage and call a night." I tried to ignore the discomfort that crept over me. It wasn't the house. It was the mirrors. The way they seemed to stretch endlessly in the faint light made the rooms feel alive, as if dozens of unseen eyes were watching us. But I wasn't about to admit that aloud. We wandered until we found the grand hall. It was breathtaking in its own eerie way, with an enormous chandelier hanging precariously above and an imposing cracked mirror dominating one wall. The mirror's surface was a spiderweb of fractures, distorting our reflections into grotesque shapes. "Let's do something fun," Matt said, his grin widening. "How about we summon a ghost?" "Seriously?" Claire rolled her eyes. "You can't actually believe in this crap." "What's the harm?" Matt shrugged. "It'll make great footage." I hesitated but didn't object. Matt began to chant the name of a spirit he'd read about online, Lysandra, encouraging us to join in. I glanced at Claire, who raised an eyebrow and smirked, but even she reluctantly followed suit. Our voices echoed unnaturally in the cavernous room, blending into a dissonant symphony that made my skin crawl. The moment we finished the chant, a heavy silence descended. The mirrors, every single one, seemed to shimmer. Then, to my horror, our reflections stopped moving. I instinctively touched my face, but my reflection didn't mimic me. It just stared, its lips curling into a grin so malevolent it made my stomach churn. Claire's scream pierced the silence. I whipped around to see her standing rigid, her face pale as a sheet. Her reflection was gone. Where she should have been in the grand mirror was an empty, dark void. Her flashlight clattered to the ground. Before we could react, the sound of shattering glass erupted around us. The mirrors splintered one by one, shards flying like deadly projectiles. "Run!" Matt shouted, grabbing my arm. We bolted, navigating the maze-like halls in blind panic. I stumbled and fell, my arm colliding with a small mirror on the wall. It shattered beneath me, and for a split second, I saw something in its fragments, a shadowed figure with hollow eyes. Matt yanked me up, and we didn't stop running until we burst out of the house and into the night. The drive home was silent, save for our labored breaths. None of us spoke about what had happened. We dropped Claire off first, though she barely acknowledged us, her face frozen in a dazed expression. The days that followed were a blur of unease. Claire stopped answering our calls. When we went to her apartment, it was empty, as if she'd never lived there. Even her parents seemed baffled, claiming she'd moved away. Something Claire would never do without telling us. Then, the mirrors began to change. It started with small things. I'd catch glimpses of my reflection moving when I wasn't, its eyes following me no matter where I stood. The phenomenon grew worse. My reflection smiled at me, a twisted parody of my own expression. Matt called me in a panic, saying the same thing was happening to him. I tried to avoid mirrors altogether, but they seemed to find me. Store windows, puddles. Even the black screen of my phone became surfaces where my reflection lurked, always grinning, always watching. Matt and I met up to figure out what to do, but there were no answers. "I think we're cursed," he said, his voice trembling. "We pissed off something in that house, and now it's inside the mirrors." We decided to return to the mansion, thinking we might find a way to reverse whatever we had unleashed. But when we arrived at the spot where the house had stood, it was gone. The clearing was empty, save for a circle of dead grass and shattered mirror fragments glittering in the moonlight. Now I'm alone. Matt disappeared 2 nights ago. I found his phone in his apartment, lying on the floor next to a cracked mirror. His last text to me was a single word: "Sorry. The mirrors are closing in. I've covered every reflective surface in my home, but it doesn't help. The reflections don't need mirrors anymore. I see them in the corner of my eye, lingering in shadows, their grins growing wider. I know they're waiting for something. Maybe they're waiting for me to make a mistake, to look too long. If you're reading this, stay away from the mirror house. Don't let curiosity lead you there. And whatever you do, don't look too long into the glass. You might not like what looks back."